The Bride Who Almost Buried Her Groom. This is Stories by Maya. If you love emotional, thrilling, and unforgettable stories, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Your support means the world. Evelyn Carter had always believed that evil rarely arrived with a warning. It often came smiling, perfectly dressed, and sweet as a spoonful of honey. At 72, with a life full of storms behind her, she trusted her instincts more than she trusted her aging knees, and those instincts screamed at her the moment Angelica Bell stepped into her life. The first time Evelyn met her, the wind outside was howling, as if the world itself felt uneasy. She had been expecting her son Michael for Sunday dinner, something he never missed unless work chained him to his desk. She was stirring collard greens in her favorite pot, humming softly, when she heard two sets of footsteps instead of one on her porch. Her eyebrows lifted, and before she could even put the spoon down, the doorbell chimed. She opened the door, expecting her son's warm smile and his usual, "Hey, Mama." Instead, her eyes met a woman so stunning it almost felt staged, like she had stepped out of a magazine photo shoot instead of a front porch in Atlanta. Angelica's dress was too perfect, her hair too flawless, and her smile too wide to be real. Evelyn had met actresses with less polish. Michael's arm was wrapped around the woman's waist, and he looked happier than she'd seen him in years, maybe decades. "Mama," he beamed, "I want you to meet someone very special." Evelyn's stomach tightened. She didn't know why, but a chill raced from the back of her neck down her spine. Still, she placed a polite smile on her face as she stepped aside. "Well, come on in," she said softly, masking her unease. "Dinner's hot." Angelica stepped inside with the grace of someone trained to be watched. Her eyes scanned the house, not in admiration, but evaluation. Judging. Calculating. Evelyn could see it instantly. She had seen eyes like that before, eyes that belonged to people who wanted something, wanted too much. Michael didn't notice. He never did. His heart was too big, too open, too quick to love, and that was the first moment Evelyn knew with a certainty that made her hands tremble, that the woman holding her son's hand was dangerous and smart enough to hide it. Angelica wore charm like perfume, and Michael was breathing it in too deeply. Evelyn didn't say a word. Not yet. She wasn't a woman who fought wars unprepared. She had learned from life that the prettiest smiles sometimes hid the sharpest knives, and this woman's smile was sharp enough to cut bone. Dinner went smoothly on the surface, laughter, small talk, Angelica pretending to be sweet as peach cobbler. But under the table, Evelyn studied everything. How Angelica's compliments all felt forced, how she avoided questions about her past, how she exaggerated affection toward Michael when Evelyn looked directly at her. It was a performance, and Evelyn had seen a lot of performances in her life. After dinner, when Michael went to get dessert from the kitchen, Angelica let her mask slip. Just for a second, her eyes, once soft, turned cold, predatory. Her smile vanished. She leaned slightly toward Evelyn and whispered, "He's lucky to have me." Not said in love, said in ownership. Before Evelyn could respond, Michael returned, and Angelica's smile snapped back on like a light switch. And that was all Evelyn needed to know. This wasn't love. This was a hunt. For the next month, Evelyn watched closely. She wasn't intrusive. She couldn't risk pushing Michael away, but she didn't miss a single detail. Every time she invited them over, Angelica bragged subtly about wanting a secure life, commented on Michael's money in a playful way, complained about her past boyfriends being dead ends, and hinted about wanting things Michael could clearly provide. Evelyn's instinct sharpened. Angelica Bell was after wealth, stability, a lifestyle. Not love, not marriage, and certainly not Michael. But what terrified Evelyn most wasn't Angelica's ambitions. It was what she overheard one night when she visited Michael unexpectedly, bringing him soup after he said he had a cold. She had barely stepped into the hallway outside his apartment when she heard Angelica's voice through the door, low and irritated. "He still doesn't suspect a thing. I am this close to locking this down. After the wedding, everything changes." The wedding. Evelyn's heart stopped. She pressed closer to the door, listening harder. A man's voice responded this time, unfamiliar, rough. "And after the wedding?" Angelica chuckled in a way that made Evelyn's blood freeze. "Please, men are easy, especially ones like him. I'll have access to everything, and once things are settled, we'll move forward with the plan." "What about the mother?" the man asked. "Oh, her?" Angelica scoffed. "Old ladies don't live forever." Evelyn felt the world tilt. Her breath shook. Her hands went numb. Angelica wasn't just after money. She was after elimination. Michael, his fortune, his life. And maybe even his mother. Evelyn backed away, trembling so hard she nearly collapsed. She left the building without knocking, without delivering the soup, without saying a word to anyone. She drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. She knew the world could be cruel, but this was evil, and no one was going to take her son away from her. Not after she had spent a lifetime protecting him, raising him, sacrificing everything for him. If Angelica wanted a war, she had chosen the wrong mother. Evelyn spent the next several days in quiet calculation. She didn't rant, didn't confront Michael, didn't warn him. He wouldn't believe her, not yet. Angelica was too skilled at manipulation, so Evelyn did what smart women did. She gathered proof. She followed Angelica discreetly. She contacted people from her supposed past. She hired someone to check her records. She tracked phone calls. And the deeper she dug, the darker the truth became. Angelica had done this before. 3 engagements, 2 marriages, both ending abruptly under suspicious circumstances. One ex-husband who had fallen ill so suddenly it raised questions Evelyn didn't even want to imagine. The woman was a black widow wearing white lipstick, and now she had her web spun tightly around Michael. But not for long. Evelyn didn't plan on saving her son quietly. She planned on saving him spectacularly, right where it would hurt Angelica the most, on her wedding day, in front of everyone, when the mask would crack, when her perfect life would crumble, when the world would see her for what she truly was, and Evelyn would be the one holding the match that burned her lies to ash. She just needed one last piece of evidence, one final confirmation, and she would get it, even if she had to walk into hell to find it. Evelyn woke the next morning with a clarity she hadn't felt in years. Fear had melted into purpose. Grief had hardened into resolve. She moved around her kitchen in silence, pouring herself a cup of tea, her mind already working like a well-oiled machine. She had spent her life being gentle, respectful, composed, but this situation demanded a different version of her, a version she hadn't touched since her younger days, the Evelyn who survived losing a husband, who walked through storms and came out standing, who raised a son alone in a world built to break women like her. She would become that Evelyn again, because Angelica Bell had declared war, and Evelyn Carter didn't lose battles, not when her child was at stake. She spent the next 3 days collecting evidence with the precision of someone who had been planning for years. She visited Angelica's workplace, pretending she had business nearby, watching how she interacted with others. The smiles were fake. The laughter was rehearsed. The kindness was thin as paper. She paid a private investigator, someone she trusted from a case she had helped a friend with years ago, a quiet man named Harris who didn't ask unnecessary questions and didn't offer unnecessary commentary. Within 48 hours, he returned with a thick envelope. Evelyn sat on her couch that evening, the envelope staring back at her like a coiled snake. She opened it slowly, her fingers trembling despite her resolve. Inside were photographs, records, bank statements, travel logs, voice recordings, proof of relationships Angelica had hidden, proof of money she had drained from previous partners, proof of forged documents, proof of conversations with the same unknown man Evelyn had overheard in the apartment. But one detail made Evelyn's breath catch: a life insurance policy, filed quietly, with Michael's name, and Angelica listed as the sole beneficiary, dated 2 weeks earlier. Her heart stopped. For a moment she couldn't breathe. The room spun. She gripped the edge of the couch just to stay upright. Her son wasn't just at risk. He was being hunted. She stared at the page for a long time, her pulse thundering like war drums. This wasn't a gold digger. This wasn't manipulation. This was murder with lipstick on. Her vision blurred with tears. Hot, furious tears she rarely allowed herself to feel. "Oh, God," she whispered. "Not my baby. No, not my son." She pressed the papers to her chest, rocking slightly, trying to hold herself together. But even as the pain tore through her, something else rose inside her. Dark, cold, steady. Resolve. Angelica wasn't taking Michael. Not in this lifetime. Not in any lifetime. Evelyn wiped her tears and stood tall, shoulders squared, eyes sharp. This wedding would not happen the way Angelica planned. Evelyn would expose her, publicly, brutally, completely. She spent the night piecing together every detail. She rehearsed what she would say, how she would say it, the exact moment she would strike. She made copies of everything, physical and digital, and hid them in multiple places. Evelyn was too old and too wise to put all her trust in a single plan. Then came the wedding week. Michael was glowing. Angelica was radiant. Too radiant. And Evelyn? Evelyn played her part. She smiled when expected, complimented when required, even hugged Angelica once, feeling the chill of evil through silk fabric. Angelica whispered, "Thank you for accepting me." Evelyn whispered back, "Oh, honey, the best is yet to come." Angelica didn't catch the meaning, but Evelyn did. The night before the wedding, Evelyn barely slept. She sat at her dining table, her hands resting on the folder of evidence. The quiet of her home felt heavy, but not empty. It felt like the calm before something inevitable, something righteous. As she watched the sunrise, painting the sky shades of lavender and gold, she whispered a single prayer. "Protect my son, and guide my hand." The wedding day arrived like a storm disguised as sunshine. The venue was breathtaking. White roses, crystal chandeliers, gold accents. Michael had spared no expense. Angelica looked like a queen in lace and diamonds, glowing with the confidence of a woman who believed she had already won. But Evelyn's eyes never left her. Guests complimented the radiant bride. The string quartet played softly. Photographers snapped pictures like rapid-fire bullets. And all the while, Evelyn waited. Waited for the moment. Waited for her cue. Waited for justice. When the ceremony began, she took her place in the front row, gripping her purse where the evidence sat neatly inside. Her hands shook, not with fear, but anticipation. Michael stood tall and handsome at the altar, love shining so brightly it made Evelyn's heart ache. He deserved so much more than this woman. He deserved loyalty, a real partner, a future built on love, not lies. The music shifted, the doors opened, and Angelica began her walk down the aisle. Everyone rose to their feet. Everyone, except Evelyn. She remained seated, hands folded, eyes narrowed slightly. Angelica noticed, just for a moment. Her smile flickered. Evelyn raised her chin. The ceremony continued, and when the officiant reached the part where objections could be made, a hush fell over the room. "Speak now," he said, "or forever hold your peace." Evelyn stood, slowly, powerfully, deliberately. Her voice cut through the air like a blade. "I have something to say." Every head turned. Michael's smile froze. Angelica's fingers tightened around her bouquet. The officiant stepped back. Michael whispered, "Mama?" Evelyn stepped into the aisle, her posture regal, her presence commanding. "Before my son gives his life to a woman," she said calmly, "he should know the truth about who she really is." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Angelica's eyes widened, but she recovered quickly, forcing a laugh. "Evelyn, what are you doing? This is crazy." Evelyn lifted the folder. "No, dear. What's crazy is believing you could fool me." She opened the folder with a soft snap. "And what's tragic is believing you could get away with hurting my son." Michael paled. "Mama, what's in that?" Evelyn turned to him, her voice thick with heartbreak. "The truth, baby. All of it." Angelica lunged forward, panic cracking through her perfect veneer. "Don't listen to her, Michael. She's old. She's confused. She's jealous because she doesn't want you to move on." Evelyn's voice thundered through the room. "Enough!" Silence. Evelyn stepped forward slowly, the weight of decades of motherhood behind every word. "Angelica Bell," she said coldly, "your lies end today." The room seemed to shrink around them. Even the chandeliers above felt like they were holding their breath. Angelica stood frozen, her face draining of color as Evelyn walked to the center of the aisle, the evidence held like a weapon forged from truth. Evelyn opened the first page, a photograph. Angelica, with another man. The same man Evelyn had heard through the apartment door. They were kissing in a dimly lit bar, the date stamp only a week earlier. Guests gasped. Michael staggered a step back. Angelica's bouquet slipped through her fingers. Evelyn's voice remained calm, but every syllable hit like thunder. "This," she said, turning the picture for the guests to see, "is the woman my son is about to marry." Angelica shook her head violently. "Photoshopped! It's fake! She's lying!" Evelyn flipped to the next page. Bank transfers. Thousands of dollars moved quietly from a previous husband's account into Angelica's. And then, reports from the investigator. Notes about a sudden illness her ex-husband suffered, a mysterious poisoning that was never proven but strongly suspected, records of her manipulation, several identities, several lives. Every page was worse than the last. Every page made Michael's heart crack louder. Evelyn read Angelica's own words, recorded secretly by the investigator when she met with the same man in a cafe. "He's gullible. He won't even see it coming. Once we're married, I'll handle everything. All we have to do is wait." The voice played clearly, familiar, wicked. The crowd erupted. "Oh my God! She's a monster!" "Michael, I'm so sorry." Michael's world shattered before his eyes. He stared at Angelica like he had never seen her before. Is this true?" he whispered, his voice trembling. Angelica panicked, her face contorted, not with guilt but with fury, her true mask falling off completely. "You stupid fool!" she snarled, stepping toward him. "Do you really think anyone would love you for you? Look at you. You're just a ticket to a better life." Michael flinched as if struck. The crowd gasped again. Angelica didn't stop. "You were easy, pathetic. And your mother—" She turned, spitting venom. "She was the only obstacle. But don't worry. She wouldn't have lasted long." The words sent chills through the room. Angelica realized too late that she had revealed the part she meant to keep hidden forever. Evelyn's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "You threatened my life and planned to end my son's." Angelica froze. Her breath caught. Everyone stared at her with horror. Evelyn took one step closer. Her 72-year-old frame radiated more strength than any warrior. She held up the final document. The life insurance policy, filed secretly, signed with Michael's forged signature. Angelica listed as the sole beneficiary. Michael's heart broke audibly. A sob ripped from his chest. "No," he whispered, shaking. "Angelica, why would you—" Angelica lunged toward him, desperate now. "Michael, baby, listen, I can explain." Security rushed forward as she grabbed his arm. Her voice cracked, turning manipulative again. "She set me up. She hates me. She doesn't want you with anyone." Michael pulled his arm free with a strength Evelyn had never seen in him. "Don't touch me," he cried, tears streaming down his face. "You plan to kill me." Angelica's eyes darted wildly around the room, looking for an exit, a weakness, anything. But the doors were blocked. Guests were recording her. Security was closing in. She began shaking her head, her voice shrill. "No, no, no, no. I deserve this life. I earned it. I was supposed to win." Evelyn stepped directly in front of her, her face inches away. "And that," she said softly, is why you lost. Angelica screamed. But it was too late. Security handcuffed her. Guests backed away as she kicked and fought, her perfect bridal gown tearing at the seams. The police, already alerted by Harris, arrived moments later. Angelica's screams echoed as she was dragged out of the venue, mascara running, hair falling apart, her wedding day turning into a public downfall so complete that even she couldn't comprehend it. Evelyn finally turned to Michael. Her son stood trembling like a boy again, his heart shattered, his dreams broken. Evelyn stepped forward and pulled him into her arms. He collapsed against her, sobbing into her shoulder. "Mama," he choked out, "I can't believe I trusted her. I was going to marry her." Evelyn held him tighter, stroking his back like she had when he was a child terrified of thunderstorms. "It's okay, baby," she whispered, her voice cracking. "She's gone. You're safe now. You're safe." For a long time, Michael cried. Guests quietly stepped away, giving them space. Some left in shock. Others stayed, unsure if they should offer condolences or simply be grateful that truth had come to light. Evelyn didn't care about anyone else. Her entire focus was on her son's pain. When his tears slowed, he pulled back and looked at her with red, broken eyes. "How did you know?" he whispered. "Why didn't I see it?" Evelyn cupped his face gently. "Because you love with your whole heart. That's your strength, and sometimes your weakness. But that's why you have a mother, to protect you when love blinds you." Michael closed his eyes, shaking with grief and relief intertwined. "Thank you," he whispered. "You saved my life." Evelyn kissed his forehead. "I always will." The venue around them was quiet now. The chaos had faded, leaving behind the soft hum of disbelief. The flowers remained. The decorations stood untouched. But the wedding was over, the dream was dead, and the truth had won. Michael sat down slowly in the first row, burying his face in his hands. Evelyn sat beside him, not saying a word. She simply rested her hand on his back, offering silent strength. Minutes passed, then hours. Finally, as the sun softened outside the tall windows, Michael lifted his head. "What do I do now?" he asked, voice hollow. Evelyn took a slow breath. "We start over," she said. "We heal, we learn, and one day, when the time is right, you'll find someone worthy of all the love you have to give." Michael nodded, exhausted but listening. "And Mama," he said quietly, "I don't know how to ever repay you." Evelyn smiled softly. "You already have. You lived." He broke down again, but this time it was quieter, softer. Healing had begun. Evelyn held him until his breathing steadied. When he finally stood, she stood with him, linking her arm in his. "Come home," she whispered. "Let's rest." They walked out together, leaving behind the ruins of a wedding that never should have happened, leaving behind the ghost of a future that wasn't meant to be. But in its place, a new strength grew, a deeper bond, a clearer truth. And Evelyn knew, deep in her soul, that she had done what any mother would do, fight for her child, protect him, save him, even if it meant tearing down an entire life built on lies. As they stepped into the cool evening air, Michael squeezed her hand. "Mama," he murmured, voice still fragile. "You're my hero." She smiled through the ache in her chest. "And you're my purpose." And together, they walked toward healing, toward safety, toward a new story, a better one, a true one. But Evelyn knew one thing with absolute certainty. If evil ever came for her son again, she would be there, and she would burn it to the ground.